Welcome back to the deep dive, your express lane to being truly well informed. Today, we're tackling a concept that, on the surface, it seems almost too simple to be profound. Yet it's something most of us, I think, struggle with daily. You know that feeling, right? Constantly juggling a dozen different things, always busy, always on. But maybe at the end of the day or the week, you feel like you haven't actually moved the needle on anything truly significant. It's kind of like running on a treadmill at full speed, convinced you're making progress, only to realize you haven't actually gone anywhere. Well, our deep dive today pulls its core wisdom from excerpts from Focused Endeavor, The Power of Singular Goals. And this source, it lays out its central argument with, well, almost blunt clarity. Concentrate your forces and focus on one big goal, not a dozen small ones. Ooh, sounds like something you'd read on a motivational poster, doesn't it? But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just some feel-good slogan, is it? There's some serious underlying science and strategy here that we often completely miss. Okay, let's really unpack this.
Yeah, what's truly arresting here is that, well, despite decades of research proving the crippling cost of context switching, some cognitive scientists suggest up to 40% of productive time is lost just in that mental overhead of switching gears. We, as modern humans, we still instinctively chase the allure of juggling multiple projects. It's weird. We feel productive when we're busy, almost as if busyness itself is like a virtue. But the book challenges this directly. It asserts that this instinct is often, well, frankly, misguided. This deep dive will not just explain why that instinct is so prevalent, but how a radical shift to singular focus isn't merely efficient. It fundamentally changes the quality of your output, your understanding, and your overall experience.
And it sounds deceptively simple, doesn't it? Almost too good to be true. But before we dive deeper into why this works and how to apply it, I'm curious, what's the most common, almost invisible pitfall people encounter, when they think they're focusing, but are actually still spreading themselves way too thin?
Oh, that's an excellent question. It really cuts right to the heart of the problem. Often people confuse focused effort with just working hard on many things. You see it all the time. They might dedicate, say, an hour to project A, then an hour to project B, and so on, and they believe they're being disciplined. But the invisible pitfall, it's a lack of strategic coherence. That's the key. They haven't really asked themselves, which of these projects, if I really excel at it, will make all the others easier or maybe even unnecessary. Without that strategic clarity on the one big goal, even, well-intentioned hard work just becomes fragmented, less impactful. They're still watering those dozen plants, just maybe on a stricter schedule.
Ah, that makes so much sense. Right, okay, so let's properly kick off by acknowledging this universal temptation. Why do we, as modern individuals, naturally gravitate towards having, a dozen small ones? I confess I've definitely been guilty of collecting those busyness badges myself, especially earlier in my career. There's an undeniable allure to it, isn't there? We often chase that feeling of being incredibly productive or maybe versatile, believing that juggling multiple tasks or projects simultaneously shows how capable we are. It feels good to say, oh, I'm working on X, Y, and Z, and also trying to learn Mandarin and train for a marathon. You know the type.
It's a powerful illusion, yeah. And it's one the source really helps us dismantle. The perceived benefit of doing a dozen small ones is often tied to, well, a fear of missing out, FOMO, right? We worry that if we don't engage with every opportunity, we'll fall behind or miss some crucial chance. So we scatter our resources trying to catch everything. But as the book points out, this just leads straight to a diffusion of effort. Think about it. When you spread your forces, your time, your energy, your invariable mental focus thinly across too many objectives, you inevitably dilute their impact. It just has to. It's the classic jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none problem, but applied to our daily goals. We might dabble in lots of things, but we rarely achieve true mastery or, significant breakthroughs. It really is like trying to water a dozen tiny plants with a single cup of water. None get enough nourishment to truly flourish. They might survive, sure, but they won't thrive. Now contrast that with taking that same cup of water and giving ample focused nourishment to one strong tree. That tree will grow deep roots, it'll reach for the sky, and it'll yield significant results. This is where we start to see the profound truth in something like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, at play. Often, a concentrated 20% of our efforts can yield 80% of our desired results, but only if that 20% is directed at the right single goal.
And what's truly insidious here, I think, is the psychological toll this takes. For many of us, it leads to these pervasive feelings of overwhelm, just constantly feeling behind. You're constantly busy, sure, but you look back at the end of the day or the week and realize there hasn't been any significant progress, not on anything truly meaningful. This creates decision fatigue, that measurable drain on your willpower, your cognitive resources, just from making too many minor choices all day long. It's not just a feeling, it's a tangible energy depletion that, well, it sabotages your ability to maintain focus on what's truly important. It increases your cognitive load, right? Making every subsequent decision harder and less effective. And crucially, it prevents the buildup of true momentum, that feeling of actually moving forward. You're always pushing, but never feeling that satisfying surge of forward motion that comes from sustained progress. It can leave you feeling constantly behind, yes, stuck in a cycle of reactivity, rather than truly moving forward with purpose and impact.
So if that's the problem, what's the solution? The source's phrase, concentrate your forces, is absolutely key. It means identifying a single high-leverage objective, the most important one, and then intentionally channeling the vast majority of your available resources and attention towards it. Now, this isn't about doing nothing else. It's not about ignoring every other responsibility or task. That's not realistic. Rather, it's a strategic act of profound focus. It acknowledges that not all efforts are equal, right? Some objectives, just by their nature, will unlock far greater progress than others. It's about being deliberate and selective with your most valuable assets, your time, your energy, and your finite attention. Think of it like a laser versus a floodlight. A floodlight illuminates a broad area, but a laser with its concentrated energy can cut through steel. That's the kind of power we're talking about here.
Okay, and when the source says one big goal, what does that actually look like in practice for us, for you, the listener? It implies a primary overarching objective for a given period. Maybe that's a quarter or a month or even just a week sometimes. This could be a critical work project, maybe one that unlocks a new market, or a significant personal learning endeavor, like really mastering a specific software or a foundational theory, or maybe a personal milestone you're striving for that has far-reaching implications. It's about singular focus on the most important thing, yeah. The keystone domino that, once pushed, will knock over many others. Not necessarily the singular existence of that one goal to the exclusion of all other life responsibilities. That's a common misconception, I think. It's more about making that one thing the absolute priority for your prime mental and physical energy.
Exactly. And this leads us directly to the profound power of this concentrated effort. It's the compounding effect. When all your efforts align, when every resource you dedicate builds upon the last in pursuit of that one big goal, progress can actually accelerate exponentially. It's like that story of the Chinese bamboo tree, you know? For 4 years, it shows a little outward sign of growth. But in the 5th year, it can shoot up 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Why? Because all the initial energy was concentrated on building an incredibly strong root system unseen below ground. You're not just adding to a dozen different small piles, you're building a single towering structure, with each brick reinforcing the one below it. This is in stark contrast to the linear, fragmented, and often, frankly, frustrating progress seen with diffused efforts, where small wins on many fronts just don't add up to a significant overall victory. And this raises an important question. How does this singular focus lead to higher quality outputs, deeper understanding, and ultimately greater overall impact? Well, it's because the consistent, sustained attention allows for a level of depth, of problem solving, and creative breakthrough that simply isn't possible when your mind is constantly switching gears, never quite fully engaging with any one challenge.
That compounding effect really resonates. Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes me think about learning. I know many of our listeners are constantly trying to absorb new information or master new skills. So how does this one big goal principle translate into truly accelerated or maybe deeper learning and skill acquisition for someone like that, beyond just avoiding the overwhelm?
Well, it's transformative for learning. Absolutely. Instead of superficially grazing across a wide array of topics, which, let's be honest, often leads to forgetting most of what you've encountered. But concentrating your learning means adopting more of a mastery approach. You select one core concept, one foundational skill, or one specific aspect of a field. That's your focus. Then you funnel your learning resources, dedicated study time, practice exercises, maybe even seeking out a mentor intensely on that single objective until you achieve a level of true understanding and proficiency. This creates robust neural pathways. It sticks. Once that foundation is solid, then you can build the next piece on top of it. This method, sometimes called deep work in other contexts, ensures that each new piece of knowledge deeply integrates into your existing understanding, rather than just sitting there as an isolated, easily forgotten fact. You don't just know of something, you know it, and crucially, you can apply it.
Okay, now, acknowledging this profound power is one thing, but actually doing it? that feels like facing a hydra sometimes, you know? For every good thing we try to say no to, it feels like three more pop-ups, often cloaked in urgency or, great opportunity. How do you identify that one big goal amidst such relentless competing demands without feeling like you're constantly fighting an uphill battle? It sounds like it requires ruthless prioritization.
You're absolutely right. The Hydra analogy is perfect because the distractions are often good, tempting opportunities. That's what makes it hard. The source really emphasizes that clarity in defining this singular goal becomes paramount. It's step one. It needs to be specific enough to genuinely guide your actions, to be something tangible you can actually work towards and measure progress against. A useful methodology here might be to sort of reverse engineer your desired future. Ask yourself, 6 months from now, if I look back and feel truly accomplished, what one thing would I have needed to achieve? Or maybe ask, what is the one thing that, if I successfully completed it, would make everything else I do easier or even unnecessary? That's a powerful question. This clarity of focus then acts as an incredibly powerful filter. Seriously powerful. Every new task, every new opportunity, every potential distraction that comes your way can be measured against one simple question. Does this truly serve my one big goal? If the answer is no, it becomes significantly easier to say no or to defer it or maybe delegate it. Without this filter, everything seems equally urgent and important, and that's exactly when the diffusion of effort takes hold again.
And this brings us to the courage required for this kind of commitment. Because, let's be honest, it means saying no to many good things to commit fully to the best thing, at least for right now. It's about being incredibly intentional with your most precious resources, your time, your energy, your mental space. They're finite. You're consciously choosing to invest them deeply in one area, knowing that other areas might receive less attention for a period. But here's a common pushback I hear, and maybe you hear it too. Does this mean I just neglect my personal life? Or ignore emergencies? Or miss out on important side projects that could be valuable down the line? What does this all mean for managing those everyday distractions and making choices that truly matter without feeling like you're becoming some kind of single-minded robot?
Yeah, that's a crucial point, and it really touches on one of the biggest misconceptions about singular focus. This isn't about becoming like a monastic hermit dedicated to only one thing and neglecting everything else. That's not sustainable or desirable for most people. It's about creating a hierarchy, a clear hierarchy where the one big goal receives the lion's share of your dedicated, high-quality attention, your best energy. Think of it less as ignoring everything else and more as optimizing everything else. The remaining small things, the daily maintenance, the routine tasks, the less critical items, are then either streamlined through systems, maybe delegated to others if possible, or they're consciously placed at a secondary tier of focus. You only address them once primary progress on the big goal has been made, or maybe during designated less peak energy times. Emergencies, of course, they always demand attention, but actually a well-designed primary focus can help you handle them better because your core work is progressing steadily. It's not constantly in crisis mode itself. It's about establishing your North Star, really. A guiding principle that helps you navigate the endless stream of demands and truly direct your efforts where they will make the most difference, rather than just reacting to whatever feels loudest at the moment.
So, to kind of wrap this up, the core message from Focused Endeavor, the power of singular goals seems to be this. It's about the profound and often really underestimated power of concentrating your forces on one big goal. And this isn't about deprivation or narrowing your life, as some might fear. It's actually about amplification. It's about achieving disproportionate results by directing your energy rather than scattering it all over the place. It feels like, yeah, secret weapon for impact.
Indeed. It represents a fundamental shift in mindset more than anything. It's not just about doing less, it's about achieving more by doing better through deliberate, focused action. For you, the listener, the long-term benefits are pretty substantial. Deeper mastery in your chosen field, more significant and impactful achievements you can truly be proud of. And importantly, a considerable reduction in the stress of feeling constantly fragmented and overwhelmed. That's huge. It's about gaining control, experiencing true forward momentum, and ultimately producing work of higher quality and hopefully lasting value.
So, as you go about your week, we encourage you to maybe consider this. What is your one big goal right now? And just imagine, what would be possible if you truly committed all your concentrated forces to just that one thing? What kind of profound impact, what level of mastery, what significant progress could you actually unlock if you adopted this powerful singular focus? Think about it. What's that one domino for you?